Holy cakes.
Holy cakes! If you are watching this, you could most probably relate to having holes in your cake, or what I call holy cake. I'm sure it must have been such a huge disappointment when you cut into the cake and expecting it to have a nice texture, and all you are greeted with is just holes all around the cake. And I experienced the same previously with my butter cake as well, and you can see from these two cakes, both made using the same recipe, one has so many more holes. And to save you all of that disappointment, if you wonder what causes your cakes to be holy and how to prevent that, today I'll be sharing with you 5 common problems that lead to these holy cakes and how you can fix it. So the first problem that a lot of people take for granted for is creaming. So creaming is done to mix together the butter and sugar, and in the process you'll be aerating your batter, which is to introduce air into your batter. If you don't do it well, your butter and sugar will cause the batter to be extremely dense and trap air bubbles later on, which is what leads to that outcome. Make sure that you want to whip it up until it's light and yellow and about 1.5 times of its original size. If you want, you can also use a pinky to should feel lighter by touch. The next problem is that you're not using room temperature ingredients, especially when the recipe calls for it. So what happens is that if you are using cold ingredients, your mixture, since it's already consisting of softened unsalted butter, when you add in the cold ingredients, your softened butter will curdle up, or in general your whole batter will curdle up, and this will cause it to have a dense finish. So to prevent this, the most obvious answer would be to make sure that you're using room temperature ingredients. Because if this has already happened to you before, or it happens to you in the future, what you can do is add tablespoonfuls of flour. Is that when you add in the flour, it will help to bind the batter together. And the third problem is a very simple one. Basically, you have lumps of leavening agents. So leavening agents are things such as your baking soda and baking powder, which will be releasing gas such as carbon dioxide during the baking process. So all these gas release will lift your cake up to be taller. If you have clumps of these leavening agents, create large pockets of air bubbles. This creates that phenomenon of having a lot of large pockets of holes. So what you can do to prevent this is just save your baking soda and baking powder, and then to make sure to mix it well so that it won't clump again. And the fourth problem, overmixing. So when you overmix your batter, especially when you overwork the flour, what happens is that it develops the gluten, and it will be similar to your bread, right? Think about it. When you're during bread making, you work the flour. So to prevent that, is to make sure to fold in your ingredients or whisk in quickly such that the gluten will not develop. You want to do so until the dry ingredients are fully incorporated, and make sure to just stop there, right? At most, you can just check to lift it up using your whisk and spatula to check it once or twice, but once it's well incorporated, just stop. The fifth problem, trap air bubbles, which is just a couple of stuck bubbles. What you want to do is to just take your cake tray and tap it against the counter a few times to dislodge your excessive air bubbles. When you do so, you'll be able to observe that the air bubbles from the bottom will start to surface, reach the top, and of course release all of that excess air. With that, thank you for watching, and if you have any more questions or any baking tips that you would like me to go through, feel free to just drop a comment below. Bye!